So the idea behind this is I wanted to see my dog as a Renaissance noble lady, and there's that. It's not that deep actually. So I already have the base sketch, but not really liking how the outfit turned out, and I thought adding those Victorian era ruffles, like neck ruffles, will make my dog more noble looking. I'm not sure if it's historically accurate, but she does look more noble looking here, so I did that. And for the dress, I actually found a painting from around that period as a reference as well. It's a really cute pink dress that I thought the color would fit very well with the frame that I plan to use for this painting. Oh, and if you're new here, my name is Arya, and I paint, crochet, and sometimes I do a little bit of sewing. I'm not really good at it at all, but it's a lot of fun, and if you like any of those, feel free to stick around. Any support means a lot for me. Like, no kidding, I read every single comments that I got. But I am notoriously bad at replying anything. You can ask all my friends and partner about that. There's not much of you guys here, which is why I was able to reply and react to all of your comments, which is the nice part about having a little small channel here in YouTube. I'm in a weird career transition era right now, so I'm not really sure what I'm doing by the time this video is up, but hopefully something that won't burn me out as I take this more seriously. Anyway, I added some big fancy jewelry here for some blings. I never draw or painted jewelry before, so I was very unsure of what I'm actually doing right now. As you can see, I keep erasing and sketching it over and over again. I just keep doing that until I like it, honestly. And I do have a reference image on this piece of brooch, I think, or necklace, I'm not really sure. But the image was so blurry, so I kinda have to make things up along the way. Hence why I am confused. And for anyone that's wondering, why is this video upside down? Because I could not decide which angle looked better, so I stick to the original video format. But it will be on the right way when I start painting, so bear with me, okay? So after I'm done with the sketch, I erase a little bit of the pencil line to make it softer. So when we put on the base color, it won't it's see-through as a guideline, but it won't see through until the final glazing or the final retouching. I have a tiny table vacuum that I use to clean up most of the eraser bits. I don't know what those are called. And I just brush the rest off with my big old brush and begin adding the base color. I always start very slow and thin, so it gives me a lot of room to change things around and figuring out what works. Because I'm figuring things out as I go while I'm painting. I always prefer painting this way because there are times that I could surprise myself, and I really like that. And here is when I start adding a bit more details. It will look kinda odd for a bit, but trust the process, everything will come together and look better in the end. This is also my first time using only gouache as my medium. I usually use watercolor, color pencil, and a little bit of acrylic, but I wanted to get to know the gouache better here. And so far, it acts exactly the same like watercolor, but more opaque. So I basically treat it like how I usually paint, but a bit less careful, like how I did with the watercolor, because I knew I can like layer lighter color on top of the darker one if I needed to, which is very nice. In watercolor you cannot do that. And if anyone's wondering, I use the Mia Jelly Gouache, and I can't really tell you if it's good or not, because that's the only gouache I paint and I have, but it does work well for me so far. My only complaints will be just the lid for this paint is not 100% airtight, So every once in a while, I do need to mix some water in to each of the paint to prevent them from drying out. And I bought the 50 color set one, so it does took quite a bit of time to drop in some water and mixing it one by one. But other than that, I don't think I have any complaints about it. But again, I don't really know what good gouache is supposed to feel. And I approach painting the dress the same way, by putting layers tiny bits at a time. And I do take a lot of breaks and looking at it from different angles, making sure it looks like it makes sense in a way. When you look at something a little bit too long, usually your perspective get a bit skewed, so it is important to take little breaks here and there. It is also my first time trying to paint something shiny because in the reference picture I have, it does seem like there is some kind of gold thread woven into the yellow band, thus make it shiny and reflective. And also, I'm trying my best to do very minimal cuts on this video since whenever I watch speed paints online or on YouTube, I usually watch them to see the thought process between each decision, and I really learn a lot from that. I'm not really sure if anyone will learn something from this because I'm very much figuring things out as I go, and there are certainly much better way to approach this piece, but it is something that I would love to keep for my own documentation, either way, to see how much I improve in the future. I used to be very shy of my own creation and I throw away a lot of old sketches that I have, so it won't see the light of day. But now thinking about it, that gives me a lot of regrets because not only those messy sketches is proof of my growth, but also holds a lot of memory. And I was never good with words, but whenever I see any surviving old paintings of mine, it's kind of like reading an old diary, and I'm trying to document and keep my art more preciously now, even though I don't really like the outcome. Also guys, if you have any tips on setting your camera so it's not out of focus all the time for speed painting, please let me know in the comments because I am a bit struggling here, not gonna lie. I have DJI Osmo Pocket 3 if that helps. So yeah, any camera nerds out there, help me out here. Okay, at this stage, I just need to make sure the contrast is right by adding more darker colors to the shadows and start painting the necklace. I'm having a little bit of trouble doing so because I feel like the paper that I used started to give out on me and started to like separate because I keep adding a lot of layers over on top of layers. But I just make sure I take my time in between to make sure it's fully dry so the paper has time to like, I don't know, like keep up with itself. I don't. One way to know that your paper is not right for the painting that you're doing is when it starts being grainy as you layer more colors on top of it, and that means the more you work on it, it might rip on you. This happens a lot with like paper under 300 GSM. Like, I bet there is a lot of good thick paper out there, but one thing that I really like is a cold press one, and that tend to be slightly more expensive than the hot press one. I don't know, I don't really buy a lot of white paper. I try to use what I have, but from my experience, the cold press paper are slightly more expensive. But I also like it more because it's less textured, so that way you can control the flow of your paint better. Okay, I'm sorry guys. I know I said I'd try not to cut this video as much as I could so you can see all the process, but when I'm trying to add in the necklace detail, I need to be very close to the painting, and so my head is in the way when I added most of the finishing detail. Oopsie. Okay, and after that I'm actually done. I let it dry on the watercolor block itself, and I just peel it off with my palette knife. And I trimmed the edges following my masking tape width. And maybe my favorite part, peeling off the masking tape off. It's just very satisfying for me. And finally, it is done. And the last thing I need to do for this painting is just putting this on the frame that I already have and ready to go. And that is all for today, everyone. And I will be like any other YouTuber in here. If you like this video, feel free to like and subscribe, and any little interaction is very much appreciated. And I hope Madame Ponyington bless you with a really great day. Bye bye!